So you're tired of tight hamstrings? You've been stretching for years and you just feel like they never loosen up? Well, today I want to talk about 3 different ways that we can help to open up the hamstrings that don't involve just sitting and reaching to stretch the hamstrings, like the thing that we've all done for a long time and don't really see any results. Let's take a look. One of the most common complaints we hear with the hamstrings is that the tightness is right behind the calves. Now, the calves are something that we see all the time. Hamstrings that just stay tight, the calves are actually a big part of the issue. So one way we like to take care of this is take something like a slant board or stack up some books where you can get the toes up a little bit. You're gonna put something in front of it that you can reach down to get your hamstring stretch. Now here, you're already gonna feel a pretty intense stretch. So I want you to use enough of an elevation to where you can get your hands there comfortably. And then we're gonna work on calf raises from this position. You're gonna lift and you're gonna feel your calves working, but then you're gonna focus on pulling yourself back down into the stretch. It's gonna look something like this. So you're gonna lift, use our hip flexors and calves to lift up and then pull yourself back down into that stretch. Now as you get more comfortable here, you're gonna be able to lower yourself until you're all the way down on the floor. Now this is something that I'll typically have people do something around 3 or 4 sets of 8 to 10 reps. And these are going to make your calves sore, but it's gonna strengthen them in a way that you don't necessarily have that tightness behind the calf, behind the knee anymore when you're trying to stretch your hamstrings. Now let's say that we've worked on your calf strength and it still just feels really hard to pull yourself down into a stretch for the hamstrings. Now many times, the second thing that can be wrong is that our hip flexors have weakness, keeping us from being able to pull ourselves down into that stretch. Now the easiest way to start working on these is from a seated position. I like to use a box, and basically we're just gonna work on straightening out our legs, okay? Now as we get comfortable with this, you can start trying to do things like holds, where we straighten, and you're gonna build your way onto the floor. Now as we get onto the floor, it's gonna be more difficult. So we can start with our hands behind us to help hold as we start to try to straighten the legs out. And as you get better and better, we're gonna work our way forward, even maybe putting our hands in front of us, keeping our knees bent, and then we're gonna try to straighten our knees out. This is gonna work on the hip flexors, and these do not take many reps to really light you up. So we can start with something like 3 sets of 5 if you're in that harder position, maybe 3 sets of 10 in the easier position until we start to build some tolerance in those hip flexors. Now, let's say you do just need a stretch, but a lot of people don't feel safe doing just a sit and reach because we're gonna start to feel nervy type stretching in the back of the knees here. So a way that we can take care of this is by using a stretch that has a bent knee and also uses some of our body's built-in reflexes to help get past some of those stretching points. So what we're gonna do is use some sort of a slider, something like a furniture slider or a towel on the floor. You're gonna put your back knee on there. Now we're gonna start from a lunge position. And with this, we basically want to start with our hands on the outside of the front knee and just try to get comfortable there and breathe into that position. So we're gonna hang out here, see if we can get comfy here. You're gonna take a few deep breaths, and then I want you to focus on using your quad, this big muscle right here, to push yourself backwards. You're gonna start to get a stretch here. So I'm just gonna push back into a comfortable stretch there. You can move your hands if you want to. And that distance will be different for everyone, but just find a good stretch there. After we breathe and get comfy there, I want you to think of pulling your heel towards your seat. I'm gonna pull that for about 5 seconds, contract that hamstring, and then relax. And I want you to push your heel down into the floor for 5 seconds, and then relax. And last, I want you to think of pulling this femur, this big bone here, into your hip socket. Then we're gonna push ourselves backwards one more time with that quad, a little bit further. And then I want you just to try and get comfortable in this position and hang out for 2 minutes. We're gonna be breathing here. You're gonna be focusing on trying to get these hamstrings to relax. And once you finish that 2 minutes, we're gonna relax, do the other side. And really, I just want you to do this 1 time a day. Now, 1 time a day is gonna be plenty to help open up those hamstrings. And this is a really safe stretch that keeps you from getting into that scary straight leg that we have. You're gonna hit more of the upper outer hamstring, which a lot of people have a problem with too. So now you know. It may not necessarily be that you weren't putting in the work, but the tools that you were using may not have been the right tools for the job. Now, if these still don't help and you still feel like you have tight hamstrings, sometimes an exam may be warranted to tailor things for you. But as always, go ahead and give these a try first, because if you can fix yourself, you should. And if you can't, we're here.